If you ever find yourself wandering down the bottom of the South Island, you might stumble upon a city that feels a bit different. This place is Dunedin. It's got a university, a big stadium, and some seriously steep streets. It looks like a classic New Zealand city, full of students and chilly southerlies. But there's a secret hiding in plain sight. It's a secret that's etched into the buildings and whispered on the wind. Dunedin isn't just another Kiwi town. It's a Scottish city that got lost and ended up on the other side of the world. It's a place built on a dream of the old country, a dream that's still alive if you know where to look. Most people don't think of New Zealand as a place with deep Scottish roots. The name itself is the first big clue. Dunedin is not a Maori word, nor is it English. It's the old Gaelic name for Edinburgh, Dunedin. The choice was deliberate, a bold statement of intent. The city's founders, men like Captain William Cargill and the Reverend Thomas Burns, weren't subtle about their plans. The first ships, the John Wycliffe and the Philip Lang, arrived in 1848, carrying not just farmers and laborers, but the very architects of this new society. The layout of the city tells the same story. He laid out the city center, the octagon, as a focal point, much like the grand squares of Scottish cities. You can walk down Dunedin's Princes Street, George Street and Moray Place, and feel like you're walking through a parallel universe version of the Scottish capital. This led to Dunedin establishing New Zealand's first university, the University of Otago, in 1869. They also founded the country's first daily newspaper and the first public art gallery. For a time, thanks to the Otago gold rush in the 1860s, Dunedin was New Zealand's biggest and wealthiest city. Walk through the center of Dunedin and you can't escape the feeling that you're somewhere else entirely. The city is a museum of Victorian and Edwardian architecture, built with a distinctly Scottish flavor. The buildings are grand, imposing, and made of dark, heavy stone. They were designed to last, to project an image of permanence and stability. The most famous example, of course, is the Dunedin railway station. It's a masterpiece of Flemish Renaissance style, built from dark basalt and light Oamaru stone. It's often called the most photographed building in New Zealand, and for good reason. It's a statement. Look around the octagon and you'll see First Church, a towering Gothic revival structure that dominates the skyline. Then there's Larnach Castle, New Zealand's only castle, a grand folly built by a wealthy banker of Scottish descent. The University of Otago's clock tower building is another Gothic masterpiece, a direct nod to the grand university buildings of Scotland. The city's town hall, its old prison, and its many commercial buildings in the exchange area all share this heavy, ornate, and enduring style. They weren't just building structures, they were building an identity, carving their heritage into the very rock of their new home. The Scottish influence in Dunedin isn't just confined to old buildings and street names. It's actually a living, breathing part of the city's culture, even if you have to look a little closer to see it these days. The skirl of the bagpipes is a sound that still echoes through the city on a regular basis. Dunedin is home to several pipe bands, and they are a proud and visible link to the city's past. One of the biggest celebrations of this heritage is the city's annual St. Andrew's Day festivities. While the rest of New Zealand might barely notice the patron saint of Scotland's Day, in Dunedin, it's a big deal. There are kilts, which are traditional Scottish dances, concerts. The city also has a long-standing connection to the Highland Games, a traditional Scottish athletic competition. Events in and around Dunedin feature classic contests like the caber toss, the hammer throw, and the tug-of-war. These games are a fantastic spectacle, a colorful and noisy celebration of strength and tradition. The Dunedin Burns Club is one of the oldest in the world outside of Scotland, dedicated to celebrating the life and work of the poet Robert Burns. Many local families still have their own tartan, a specific patterned cloth that represents their clan or family name. While you might not see people wearing kilts to the supermarket, the knowledge of these traditions is still passed down through generations. Beyond the obvious festivals and grand buildings, Dunedin is full of smaller, more subtle clues to its Scottish past. These are the little details that often go unnoticed by the casual visitor. One of the most interesting is the local dialect. While most New Zealanders speak with a fairly uniform accent, the southern South Island, and Dunedin in particular, has a distinctive feature, the rolling R. Older residents in particular often have a noticeable burr, a ghost of the voices of their ancestors. A ghost of the voices of their ancestors. Another fascinating tradition is tied to the New Year. In Scotland, New Year's Eve is called Hogmanay, and it's arguably a bigger celebration than Christmas. For many years, the city was famous for its wild Hogmanay celebrations in the Octagon, which were far more raucous than New Year's events in other parts of the country. The city's relationship with food and drink also carries Scottish undertones. Of course, there's the whisky. The love for oats is a classic Scottish trait, and Dunedin is the home of Haraway and Sons, New Zealand's only oat mill. A warm bowl of porridge on a cold Dunedin morning is a tradition that links directly back to the crofts of Scotland. Even the city's superstitions have a Scottish tinge. There are local ghost stories and folklore that feel like they've been transplanted directly from the misty glens of the Highlands. Despite all this evidence, Dunedin's Scottish identity isn't as prominent as it once was. For many younger New Zealanders, and even for many Dunedinites, the city's past is just that, the past. Over the last 50 years, the country has moved away from its colonial, British-centric identity and forged a new path as a multicultural nation in the South Pacific. The focus has rightly shifted towards celebrating our Maori heritage and embracing the diverse cultures that now call New Zealand home. In this new context, celebrating a specific European heritage like the Scottish one can sometimes feel a bit old-fashioned or out of step. The national conversation has been about what it means to be a New Zealander, a single, unified identity. So why does this forgotten history still matter? Understanding Dunedin's Scottish roots is not about trying to turn back the clock or claiming one European culture is more important than another. It shows us that the story of Pakeha settlement is not a single, monolithic English story. It's a story of different groups of people from different parts of Britain and beyond. The story of the Scots is a story of a distinct cultural group trying to maintain its identity in a new land. In a way, it's a precursor to the stories of the Dutch, the Polish, the Chinese, the Indian, and the many other communities that have made New Zealand their home. It shows that New Zealand has always been a place of multiple cultures, each contributing to the whole. Ultimately, Dunedin's untold story is a vital piece of the New Zealand puzzle. It's a story of how a determined group of people transplanted their world to the other side of the planet, creating a city that is both deeply Scottish and uniquely Kiwi. It's a legacy that is carved in stone, but also lives on in the spirit of the place. To walk the streets of Dunedin is to walk through a living museum of that dream. Forgetting this story would be like tearing a crucial chapter out of our national biography. Remembering it helps us see ourselves and our wonderfully complex little country more clearly than ever before.